Today we are talking about the single most important thing in your Yiddishkeit. The single most important thing in Judaism. The single thing that is going to keep you plugged in if, God forbid, you decide to go back to America and you're going to get a job just in an office, God forbid, just be one of those normal, mediocre Jews, God forbid. If you're going to do that, there's one thing that is going to keep you in the game more than anything else. And it's going to keep you in the game for two reasons. Number one, it's actually very, very easy. Like Shmona Esrei is not so easy. To daven a whole Shmona Esrei with Kavana, that's not so easy. And there's lots of things with lots of rules. And this is very, very easy. And secondly, it's consistent throughout the day, again and again and again throughout the day. What is that?
Being a Jew.
But what's the tool? The ultimate Jewish mindfulness tool. I lived in Asia for 6 years. Martial arts, Buddhism, mindfulness. Come to Judaism and see all these little rules and rituals and stuff. And I was like, what are you so into all these little rules and rituals? And I realized they're all mindfulness tools. A mezuzah, that's a mindfulness tool. Wake up. Putting on your right shoe first, that's a mindfulness tool. The ultimate Jewish mindfulness tool that we do every day, several times a day, is brachot. Brachot, blessings. 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 Every single time I eat any food or drink any drink, I take a moment before putting the food in my mouth to say a bracha, a blessing. And when I became religious at the age of 29, 30, my friend said to me, "You're so unlucky, you have to say a blessing before you eat." And I was like, "No, my friend. I don't have to say a blessing. I get to say a blessing. It's an unbelievable thing." So why do we say blessings before we eat? And what do we get from saying a blessing before we eat? Go.
To remind us of Hashem.
God consciousness. God consciousness. We should be thinking about Hashem all day. There's something called devekut. Devekut means palpable, authentic, personal, present connection with Hashem. And how some form of devekut is you just leave your body, you're in some kind of different world. But really, every moment that you are thinking about Hashem, you're in devekut. Every moment you're thinking about your wife, you're connected to your wife. Every moment you're thinking about your money, you're connected to your money. What you are thinking about, that connects you to that thing. So a bracha, and we're going to make loads of brachas every day. You're going to be sitting in your office somewhere, and then you're just going to have your cup of tea, and you're going to have to say a bracha there. Bam! God's suddenly come into your day. You don't have to wait for Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv. It's throughout the day, again and again and again and again, all throughout the day. God consciousness, again and again and again. What else?
Gratitude.
Gratitude. Unbelievable. A moment of gratitude. Now, how many classes have you heard on the fact that gratitude is one of the keys to happiness in your life? The more grateful you are for everything in your life, the happier you're going to be. Most people, they look at what they don't have, what they wish they had, what other people have. If only I had a better car, job, body, girlfriend, something. If I had something better, then I'd be happy, which means you won't be happy. Whereas when I lived in Asia, and I lived with the orphans in Asia, and they had no parents, and they had polio, and they had one meal a day, and they had no running water, and they had no electricity, they were happier than most of my friends in England, who were in the top 1% of privileged people on the face of the planet. They're in the bottom 1%, but what they did have? Gratitude. They were so grateful. Every time we gave them any food, they were like, amazing. They were sharing one pencil between 5 kids. I bought them each a pencil. They couldn't believe it. Wow. Gratitude is such a key part of your life. And everyone knows that. You all know that, yes? How many moments of conscious gratitude have you had this week so far? So hopefully some, but most people, it's no. When was the last time you were grateful for your legs? After leg day in the gym. No. But when you see someone in a wheelchair, most people never grateful for their legs, their eyes, not grateful. We're not grateful people in general. You're like, there wasn't enough hot sauce for my schnitzel. There was no hot water left in the shower. It's like, really? Get over it, man. You had water in the shower. So basically, you're having moments to consciously tap into gratitude. In general, privileged people know that gratitude is good for them, might even know all the things they have to be grateful for, but very rarely actually take a moment to actually feel grateful. I gave a class about gratitude once, and one of the girls said, I make a gratitude list. Every day, 2 things on my gratitude list: my legs, my parents, my opportunities, my good memory. And I said, that's great that you've got a gratitude list. So you just made a list of things that you acknowledge you should feel grateful for. But do you ever sit and feel actually grateful? Did you wake up this morning and just freak out? I'm in the top 1% of privileged people on the face of the planet. Again, did you feel that this morning? You woke up, you're like, unbelievable, I'm in a bed. And there's going to be water in the tap, and I'm going to have food. And I'm in Israel going to learn amazing things. And I can do any job I want, and I can go anywhere I want. You can travel anywhere you like. You can do anything you want. Did you feel one moment today that you were one of the top 1%, literally, of most privileged people on the face of the planet? No. This is an opportunity. Tap in again and again and again. Thank you so much. It's so thoughtful. Baruch atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaroi. 3, another reason, another benefit of making a bracha. We don't have time, so I'm going to say. Mindfulness. Not only God consciousness, just general mindfulness. Bring you into the present moment. I have a piece of fruit in my hand. Where did this piece of fruit come from? It came from a seed. How did a seed, with a bit of water and a bit of sunlight, turn into a big wooden thing? And how did that big wooden thing turn into a flower? And how did the flower turn into a fruit? That's unbelievable there. How many people did it take you to take that mango to get to the table? The whole world. The farmer, whoever made the farmer's shoes, whoever got the rabbit to make the farmer's shoes, the truck driver who bought it, whoever built the truck, whoever made the nuts and bolts for the wheels of the truck. Basically, it took the whole world. Just a moment of mindfulness. Just let's be in the present. I'm about to eat. This is what I'm doing now. Bring myself into the present moment. Most people are always in the past and the future, so anxious, and they're worried about what's going to happen, and they regret what happened already. So just making a bracha is like, well, let's just come and be present with my food. Very important. Anything else? Turn eating into a spiritual act. Spiritualize eating. I made that word up, but I think it's a thing. So now you're not just eating, you're doing something that is, I'm bringing godliness into my eating. Not just I'm God conscious and I'm thinking of God, but I'm actually making eating a thing, a mitzvah, Suda's mitzvah, bracha. It's actually also feeding your soul. The food feeds your body, the bracha feeds your soul. Your soul loves the bracha. Sometimes I just eat so I can make a bracha. I'm like, give me something to eat. I need to make a bracha now. Your soul is hungry.
Make Hashem happy.
Pardon?
Make Hashem happy.
I like that. Nachas to Hashem. He gives nachas to Hashem. Hashem's like, wow, look at my kids. They're being so mindful and grateful and amazing. Giving back to Hashem is the greatest thing you can do. Hashem feels so excited when we do the right thing. When my kids say thank you to me, or when my kids use what I give them for the right reason, I like that. That gives me nachas. So I want to give Hashem nachas. That's how I have a relationship with Hashem. Immensely important. Anything else? Good. Self-control. How about having a bit of self-control? Animals eat without saying a blessing. You take it one moment, just a bit of self-control. I'm not going to stuff my face. Let me take some time here. Anything else? Permission. Who says you're allowed to eat that fruit? You didn't make it. That's God's fruit. We've got to ask permission. You're like paying for the fruit in a way. Spiritual permission. Anything else? You're actually uplifting the food in a few ways. Uplifting the food. We're not going to get too deeply into this, but our sages teach there are 2 Kabbalistic things about food that you need to know. Firstly, it has a klippah. A klippah is a husk, a shell, a spiritual shell. And secondly, because God's light is basically animating the whole of creation, it has nitzotzot kedusha. It's sparks of holiness in it. So what a bracha does is actually basically spiritually prepare the food to be eaten. It arouses the netzotzot kedusha and it connects it back to the source. I've got an amazing story. When I first got to Israel, I came to Sfat, before I even met you. He was one of my first rabbis. Gave me one of my first classes. I remember one thing from your class. You said something about sniffing glue. That's just what I remember from the class. And it was the tshuva class, where you watch the video and someone starts something and you're like, remember, my first class. I'm here because of you. Thank you. Karasato. So, I lived in Asia for 6 years, and I went straight from Japan to Israel, just for 3 weeks in Israel. I ended up staying 18 years instead of 3 weeks, but it was 3 weeks in Israel, and I went up to Sfat, and I was talking to this Chabad guy. I still know him, Omer Cohen. And I told him my story. I said, I've been living in India, and he goes, I got an amazing story for you. We grew up religious. In Sfat, we're a Chabad family. My brother, when he was 18, he went to the army, and after the army, him and lots of his friends went to India. And he stopped being so religious, and he was traveling around India, and he met a guru. You know what a guru is? Enlightened master, spiritual master. And this guru had a special power. His power was that he could see auras. You know what an aura is? It's a spiritual emanation. We've actually got a book somewhere called The Coming Revolution. There's a type of photography called Kirlian photography, a Russian scientist, that you could take a picture of an aura. And he takes pictures of people when they're sick and when they're healthy. And you can see it's very different energy, life force, energy, the nefesh, the soul is different. And he actually, some Jewish guy took a picture of people when they're sick, when they're healthy, and when they're doing doing mitzvahs, and it goes purple. This guy's got tefillin on, it goes purple. Blows the shofar, the oral goes purple. I don't know why purple. Sheshvar, Gaman, Levush, or something. So anyway, he was walking, this guy's brother was walking with the guru through a field, and he picked an apple. And he ate the apple. And the guru stopped and he said to him, what did you just do? So the guy was a bit embarrassed. He said, I grew up religious Jew, and before we eat anything, we say a blessing, we make a bracha. So I said a bracha before I ate it. And the guru said to him, look, I've never seen this before, and I've always wanted to do this, but an apple, all fruit on a tree, has a very big aura, because it's connected to life. It's alive, it's growing. When you pick a fruit from the tree, you actually kill the aura, because you just cut it off from its life source. Whatever you said before you ate it brought the aura back. Why is that? Because you reconnected it to the source. Reconnected it to the source. Reconnected it to Hashem. To source. You reconnected it to the source. So he left him like the next day. And the guru came to Israel, and he's now the Rosh Hashiva of the Mir. Got 18 children, Barak Hashem. That wasn't true. We can do loads more here, but at very least, saying a bracha which takes 10 seconds, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Ha'olam Boirei Pri Ha'etz. These are bracha 10 seconds. That's the investment. You invest 10 seconds. No money, not much effort. There's no investment. And what is the outcome? What do you get from that investment? God consciousness, gratitude, mindfulness, spiritualized eating, feeding your soul, nachas to Hashem, self-control, permission, uplift. Basically, you get everything. It's like, you give me one dime, I'll give you $1 million. That's a worthwhile investment. A whole Shmone Esrei, very difficult. You can do that. You're sitting in your office in Manhattan, you got your cup of tea, you can make a bracha. And what's so good about it is very, very, very little effort, huge reward, but also consistent throughout the day. Also Asher Yatzah. So really, our sages say you're going to be making about 100 brachas a day. Imagine you could make 10 of them with the right consciousness. Just 10 of them, 5 of them, 1 of them. 1 bracha a day with that consciousness. You're tapping in again and again and again. This is the ultimate mindfulness tool. Again and again and again. Do we understand this? Can we think of any good reason not to make a bracha? Would there be anyone? Well, I forgot. That's not a good reason. Well, I don't know what bracha to make. That's fair, but you can learn. There's not so many. There are only 6 brachas, really. What's a good reason not to make? Why would you not make a bracha? Takes too much effort. 10 seconds. Don't take time. Don't take money. There is no valid, actual, reasonable reason not to make a bracha, and it's amazing. So just like everything else in Judaism, if you see a bracha as a burdensome obligation that I have to say some words in order to make some guy in the sky not punish me, then of course I don't want to do it. But if you see a bracha as an immense opportunity to tap into God conscious gratitude, mindfulness, spiritualized eating, feeding yourself, nachas Hashem, self-control, permission, it's amazing. You want to make brachas. So you won't be someone who says things like this: I'm not going to wash because I'll have to bench. What do you mean I'm not going to wash because I'll have to bench? I'm going to wash so I get to bench. It's like, I'm not going to take $500 because then I'll have to take $5 million. You're not connected to the reality. But benching's a bit harder, it's a bit longer. This is just brachot Hashem. So now you have to understand, what does it mean? What are you saying? This is very important. Baruch. So I was speaking to a guy. I used to run trips to Thailand. 10-day trips, volunteering in orphanages, playing with elephants, zip-lining, meditating in the jungles. They were completely amazing, amazing trips. And they were very mixed, religious, not religious people, a whole amazing people. And I was sitting on the bus one day next to this guy, completely secular 27-year-old, and we were talking, and he kept saying all things from the Gemara and all stuff. And I said, come on, what's your story? And he said, when I was 18, I went to Israel, and I went to yeshiva, and I became religious. I became frum. I said, that's your mistake. Frum's a 4-letter F word. You don't want to be frum. You want to be consciously and joyously observant. So he said, I became frum when I was 18, and then from 18 to 24, I was in yeshiva, proper black hat, learning Gemara. And then when I was 24, I went back to America, and I stopped being so religious. 27, nothing. So I said to him, well, were you making brachas? He said, of course I made brachas, 100 brachas a day. He had the whole Gemaras. And I said, okay, so what does Baruch mean? You said the word Baruch 100 times a day. What does Baruch mean? So he said to me, Baruch atah Hashem, it means holy. Holy, Baruch means holy. I said, no, that's Kadosh. Kadosh means holy. So he said, Baruch atah Hashem, it means grateful, like gratitude. I said, no, that's Hodaya. He was like, you know? And I said, yes, I do know. You don't know. You have no idea what you were saying. So the reason you weren't not saying brachas now when you were 27 is because you spent 6 years saying them with having no idea what you were saying. So what does the word Baruch mean? Ha! I didn't ask for an English translation. By the way, what does blessed mean? Blessed are you, Lord our God. What does it mean? What does Baruch mean? Here, we have a root. It's a shoresh. What does it mean? Pardon?
Praise.
Praise is tehillah. Ah, great. So the first one is source. In modern Hebrew, a swimming pool is called a brachot. So it really means the wellspring. Everything comes from Hashem. Everything comes from you. So now we're going to play our game. We played it a few times before. We're going to play it again. You ready? What's this table made of?
Wood.
Where does wood come from? Where do trees come from? Where does the earth come from? What's cotton made of? Cotton is made of plants. Plant comes from a plant. Cotton plant. Good. Where does that come from? Where does ground come from? Where does the Lord come? Metal. Where does metal come from?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Plastic. Where does plastic come from? I had to look this up when I started playing this game, by the way.
Oil.
Petroleum. Petroleum. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? Paint. Where does paint come from? I don't know where it comes from, but where it comes from, go back to Hashem. Your t-shirt, where does that come from? China. Where does China come from? Hashem. Wool. Where does wool come from? Sheep. Where does sheep come from? Mummy sheep. Where did mummy sheep come from? The first sheep. Where did the first sheep come from? Hashem. Everything you see now, you can play the game. Everything you see right now, in front of your eyes, and the sky, and everything, if you play the game, you will come back to Hashem. So my Rebbe, Belvavi, says, if you play that game for 10 months, the world starts screaming out, Hashem. You stop seeing mineral, vegetable, animal, and human, daimem, tzomech, chai, and medaber, and you just see there's a creator of the universe. And I did it once. It's very hard. It's very hard to keep playing that game even for 10 minutes. I did it for 10 months, and I just started just not seeing things. I was like, Hashem, Hashem, where's that? So it's a good game to play. If you're waiting at the bus stop, just play, look and see something. Where did the road come from? Gravel. Where does the gravel come from? Rocks. Where did the rocks come from? Hashem. 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 So just by saying the word Baruch with some kavanah, Baruch, and you're saying there's a creator of the universe. It's unbelievable. You're tapping back in. So you're sitting in your office in Manhattan and you're like, Baruch. At that moment you should fall off your chair. So I call it the return to the source game. There used to be a trance night in London called Return to the Source. It was a different type of night. Do you know it? No?
Whereabouts?
In King's Cross. Hashem, you are the source of everything. So Baruch atah Hashem, Hashem, you are the source of everything comes from you. So I'm holding this apple in front of my hand, and it's not just an apple. Baruch atah. Most people finish the bracha before they even said they put it in their mouth before they finish eating. They have their rogalach, and they're like, Baruch atah, and they're looking at the rogalach. Baruch atah Hashem. That's avodah zarah. You just call the rogalach Hashem. You're like, Baruch atah Hashem. Borei minei mazal. That's avodah zarah. I would actually think that you should look at your food before you say the bracha, and then close your eyes to say the bracha. So you're not speaking to the food, you're speaking to it. Baruch atah. Okay, second meaning of Baruch.
To increase.
Beautiful. You must have done this class before. I'm so impressed that you know all the answers. It means to increase, to multiply, to have abundance, to grow. Rashi actually says there's a blessing in the Torah that you're going to eat a little bit of food, but it will increase in your stomach. The food will increase, and he uses the shoresh of the word Baruch. So it means increase. And we see that the letters of Baruch, this gematria 2, this is 200, this is 20, it's all that 2 it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So when with Baruch, we are increasing. So we're increasing the blessing in the world. The Rashba says that when you make a bracha on food, it actually increases the harvest. Isn't that amazing? If you don't make brachas on apples, next year the harvest will be worse. That's why the Gemara says that if you don't make it, then if you don't make a bracha, you're stealing from Israel. The Marashat, I saw in the Rashba as well. And the Ein Yaakov. Who's the Ein? Anyway, unbelievable, no? So what we're also doing is we're increasing God consciousness. Because the more I say the word Baruch, then I'm actually increasing awareness of God in the world. That's why some people, I don't know why, they're embarrassed to say bracha. They mumble their brachas in front of their parents or in front of... Why? You say it out loud. In the airport, your mom said out, you're so worried what a bunch of non-Jews you're never going to see again think of you. You know, Baruch atah Hashem. And then you always get one person who's like, Amen. You're like, Jew. Fill in. It always happens, amazing. I do it also some people like tucking their tzitzit when they go to the airport. I'm like, Baruch atah. You're embarrassed to be a Jew. You say your brachas out loud like a mensch. Third meaning of the word Baruch. I wonder if you know.
To bring down.
Woohoo! Fantastic. So, the word for a knee in Hebrew, what's the word for a knee? Berech. It's a berech, which is related to the word Baruch. Eliezer, when he went to find a wife for Yitzhak, he had his camels and he made them kneel down. He made them kneel down. He baruched them. He baruched them, kneel down. So, the sages say there are two meanings of this. One is that I'm kneeling down in front of Hashem, so to speak. I'm submitting myself in humility. But the deeper Sfarim actually say that I'm bringing Hashem down to me. What does that mean? Where is Hashem?
Everywhere.
Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is really everywhere. Up, down, down, right, left, right. But do you feel that? Do you actually feel that Hashem is really actually here? That you're swimming in Hashem here? So for I don't, most of the time. So we have this idea, Shviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I should place Hashem before me at all times. Now Hashem is before me at all times, but even when we're davening Shemona Esrei, we sometimes feel we're speaking to Avinu Sheba Shemayim, Hashem somewhere out there. Although somewhere intellectually we understand that Hashem is everywhere, we don't feel that Hashem is actually literally here. Otherwise you wouldn't be looking at what you're looking at on your screen. If you really knew, if the Rosh Yeshiva was sitting next to you, you wouldn't be looking at that on your screen. Not from a place of fear that you're going to get punished, just like, I have awe, I'm so excited, I don't want to do bad things. So in general, for most people, including myself, I don't necessarily feel that I'm walking around swimming in godness, So when I say the word Baruch, I imagine, so to speak, that Hashem's presence is coming down, and now Hashem, I try to feel, this is why I breathe through my nose, try to feel that Hashem is actually there in front of me. Baruch, just by saying the word Baruch. So I'm really increasing. I'm understanding that you are the source of everything, and I'm increasing God consciousness, and I'm bringing you down. Not that Hashem needs to be brought down into reality, Hashem is here, but in my own consciousness, I'm bringing Hashem closer in my consciousness, at which point I can say the word Ata. Now, Ata, I believe, is the single most important word in the Siddur. Because if you say the word Ata with Kavanah, then it means you're really speaking to Hashem. Baruch Ata. So sometimes when I make brachas, I say Baruch Ata, and then I stop. And if I don't feel like I'm really speaking to Hashem, I don't say the word Hashem. Sometimes I repeat, I say Baruch Ata, Baruch Ata, Baruch Ata. Baruch Ata Hashem. Okay. Once you said Hashem, you can't repeat. You can't say Baruch Ata Hashem, Baruch Ata Hashem. But you can say Baruch Ata several times. Baruch Ata Hashem. Elokeinu melech haolam. And also, if we see the words Hashem, really the word Hashem is God beyond time and space. Baruch Ata Hashem. Then Elokeinu is God within time and space. Melech is God as king, and haolam is the world, so it's getting closer and closer. Baruch Ata Hashem. Elokeinu melech haolam. At which point you just fall off your chair. You shouldn't actually be able to make a bracha, to be fair. We shouldn't be able to make a bracha. The Amshin of a Rebbe was very old. He was walking up the hill in Hanof. It was very hot. Students came up to him and said, would the Rebbe like some water? And he said, I'd love some water, but I don't have the strength to make a bracha. So what do you mean? Baruch Atah Hashem. But when he makes a bracha, he's like, boo, ha, 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 oh, oh, ah, oh, ba, he just didn't, because that's what a bracha is meant to be. They actually sent him, because the Amshin Rebbe is not in time and space. He's like, makes kiddush on, he's all over the place. So they sent him they were going to put him in cherem, which means he's kind of disassociated from the community. Then the Beis Din sent 3 people, and he sat to welcome them in, and he said, hold on, just... welcome. I'm just going to make a bracha, and you're like, like 10 minutes later they left, and apparently they went back to the Beis Din and they said, look, we're not putting him in Cherem. You can if you want, but this guy's like holding it. They just wanted to check if you made the right bracha. Anyway, you have so much kavanah when you're making a bracha, making kiddush. You're like, Barak. By the time have you seen the video of the Tosha Rebbe making a Hamotzi Lechem in Haaretz? Tosha Rebbe, look it up. He's like, Hamotzi Lechem min haaretz, min haaretz, min haaretz. He's like chasing away the Yetzer Hara. He's like, min haaretz, min haaretz, min haaretz, min haaretz, min haaretz, min haaretz. And everyone's like, Amen! If you could get one real bracha a day, you get everything. So very quickly, this is what I heard. Between Mincha and Mariv in my Sephardi shul, they said that there was they went to a levaya, a funeral of a big Rav, and his son said that every time he makes a bracha, before he makes a bracha, he goes like that. He said what happened was his father, who it was his funeral, from when he was about 6 years old, just went up to him, tapped him on the head. We know now this is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. He said, before you make a bracha, you have to think 3 things. Number 1, A, what am I about to say? What am I about to say? Wow, Baruch Atah Hashem, Baruch Atah. What do I understand the words I'm saying, what they mean, and what they do? The second one, which is really the most important, who am I saying them to? Am I just saying words, or I am actually, literally, really, actually talking to Hashem, who's actually really there? Am I speaking to Hashem? Baruch Atah Hashem. So if you don't feel like you're actually speaking to someone who's really actually there, then the Yesod B'Shorish Avoda and others say it's a bracha levatala, which means you wasted it. If you say the words, but you didn't have God consciousness, gratitude, mindfulness, spiritual, then you wasted the bracha. The purpose of the bracha is not so that you can eat the food. People think, why do we make brachas? So we can eat the food. That's not true. We eat brachas so we can have God consciousness, gratitude, mindfulness. This is the reason for making brachas. So if you're making brachas, but you're not tapping into these things, then you wasted the bracha. So who am I saying it to? Number C, letter is how. So this is what the guy said in between Mincha and Mariv. about 10 years ago, I heard him tell this story. So often before I make a bracha, I just go like that. Just remember, what am I about to say? Who am I saying it to? And how am I going to say it? Am I going to rush? Am I going to say it mindfully? Am I going to say it resentfully? Am I going to say it consciously? How am I going to say it? Baruch atah Hashem. It's an amazing thing. Very, 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 very little investment. Huge takeaway. Huge, big reward. So this is how I started. I started just on fruit. When I first became religious. Started on fruit. So every time I ate fruit, I'd say a bracha on fruit. And then gradually, slowly, I built up. Every time I drank water, brachas. Bezrat Hashem. So this is our key, practical, sustainable, doable, understandable, amazing mindfulness tool that plugs you in, taps you into the game again and again and again. And remember, your attitude to it isn't, I have to do this thing, otherwise I'll be in trouble. It's seen as an opportunity. This is a gift, an amazing gift. You don't have to make brachas, you get to make brachas. It's an amazing gift with amazing reward. Bezrat Hashem. Shabbos.